Hello everyone, welcome to the 12 Days of SwitchUp 2024. First things first, we're not our best selves, are we?
No, illness has struck quite badly, to be honest. So we're going to do today's intro on camera, just to say hello. And then we're going to have a few off-camera days just to recover. And then hopefully a few days in as you're watching, we'll be back on screen and looking a bit more chipper. But yeah, I mean, I'm not being a Scrooge. I'm literally shivering. I'm freezing as we're doing this. So yeah.
Lovely. All right, yeah. Try and work out who is the more ill one out of the two of us.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Put it in the comments.
So yeah, it's so good to be doing this once again. I think it's like the fourth or
something like
that.
Yeah.
And the production values are like somewhere in the middle now, I reckon. So we're going to have a look at the 10 most addictive games on the Nintendo Switch that were released in 2024. Let us know your ones down in the comments. A couple of housekeeping bits. We are giving away a couple of Nintendo Switch OLEDs. The whole series is also sponsored by Untold Tales, so thanks to those guys. They're giving away their own Switch OLED, and they've got massive owners discounts on their games. All the info will be down in the description. All
Lovely job, yeah. Okay, so which games do we consider the most addictive? Well, let's find out.
Firstly, a massive thank you to Untold Tales. They've sponsored this entire series. It's the second year in a row that they've done that. We didn't expect them to. So yeah, please show Untold Tales some love if you're able. They're giving away their own Nintendo Switch OLED as well. A nice OLED Switch giveaway. And I'll pop some details about that in the description alongside any other information you need to know. Now, their game Chernobylite was released today, which is a science fiction survival horror RPG. It also includes base building and crafting, resource management, stealth, survival and combat, and very non-linear storytelling. This was a big hit when it originally came out. It's great to see it on the Nintendo Switch. And if you missed it, we have a full dedicated video of that came out yesterday. If you're a fan of post-apocalyptic survival, then this is one not to miss. I mean, being a fan of post-apocalyptic survival would make you a slightly unusual person, but playing it in a game, well, that makes perfect sense. There is an owner's discount available. Again, all the information about that will be on the screen and down in the description. Please do support us and your backlogs by checking that one out. It's a cracking price. You can get up to 50% off. Once again, a big thanks to Untold Tales for sponsoring the whole series. Happy days. All right, let's kick off then, Glenn, with probably one of your favourite games on Switch, I would say.
Certainly of this year, yeah, and that's Balatro, and quite possibly one of the most addictive games I've ever played, in all honesty. So this is a card game based loosely on poker, where you need to create the best hand you can to beat a particular blind and then move on. But obviously the way that they keep it addictive is by mixing up just how you create those hands.
Yeah, I think when I first heard about this, and even when you were telling me, it's very difficult to picture it in your head how this is a roguelike and how that works.
Yeah, it is. And when it first came out, obviously there was a lot of praise for it, and it didn't grab me straight away. It was literally the fact it was a poker type game that even made me look at it, because I do like, a bit of a digital poker at least. But yeah, it's not really poker as you would know it. It's all about the joker cards that you find, and the abilities or the buffs that they give your cards, and then they're therefore your hands as you go along. So even a pair, a single pair can become a very strong hand if you've got the right buffs. And there's a lot of strategy in how you use that moving forward, and it's so much more complex than I initially thought it would be.
Yeah, it is. It's funny because they're actually like they're almost like boss fights in this, aren't they?
Yes, there are. So each, the end of a blind, you have a hand that you need to try and beat, but they'll have some sort of disabler that they use against you, and these can be brutal. You can be going on a great run, similar to obviously a roguelike where you are literally fighting a boss, where you just come up against this brick wall, and whatever it is that it's disabling on you could have such an effect that you just can't get forward. Now, obviously there are ways that you can, but that's the fun in learning how to be better and how to try and overcome these adversaries, if you like, albeit they are hands of cards.
Yeah, it's one of those where at the start it will show you what that end battle, as it were, is going to be.
Yes.
And
through the whole run, you're kind of trying to work towards that, right?
Yeah, and you can skip playing hands and take a bonus instead, but that means you can't visit the shop. And again, there are so many nuances to it.
Yeah.
And I think this was probably the roguelite that took me the longest to complete one run.
Yes.
It took me ages.
I remember.
Yeah, like 25 hours to finish one run. But once you do, you're like, yeah, all right, I think I start to understand what I'm doing now. And that's where the fun starts.
What it also does is it's addictive from a visual standpoint as well, right? When you have to open up the packs of cards.
Yeah, exactly right. So you buy booster cards that you obviously are random and you won't know what you're getting. And there are so many different types of cards, and you can change specific cards within your deck, or you can remove them completely to increase your chances of getting other cards. It's great. It's such a good game.
Now, I know for a fact you're going to be a man that collected cards when he was a kid. Either cards or stickers. I'd say stickers.
I collected football stickers
Yep.
in an album, and I collected X-Files cards.
Nice.
There was a collection of X-Files cards, and I collected those up.
I didn't even know there were X-Files cards.
Yes. My love of Gillian Anderson
Ooh.
fueled my desire to collect.
That red hair.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, it won't surprise you at all to hear that I collected all the cards and all the stickers, but I never completed the set.
No, I mean, it was hard to complete anything when they ripped you off something royal with those random packs.
Oh, yeah, I used to do a paper round and all my money went into these cards.
Yeah.
Never finished it.
Yeah, see, I did finish the X-Files one.
That's impressive.
Yeah, I did. I had one card that someone else at school needed to finish their collection. So they basically gave me all their doubles for this one card.
Wow.
And almost overnight, I pretty much finished the collection. Do you know what I mean?
Man, have you still got that?
I had it for years.
Yeah.
I don't know if I still got it.
It's probably worth something.
I hope I haven't got it. Because, having it and knowing you have it and it's worth a lot of money is one thing. Not being sure and it's worth a lot of money, you're always like, oh man.
Yeah,
like,
I bet that is worth something. No one tell us in the comments.
Yeah.
It's just 10p.
Exactly.
All right, next up we've got a more recent game in 2024. It's Nanoapostle.
Yeah, so this is a more traditional roguelite in the sense that you are fighting bosses, I suppose. It's like a boss rush, and it's a bloody hard game, isn't it? Really tough game, but that addictive side of it comes in, always getting so close that you feel you could do it next time.
Yeah, this is so close yet so far to game.
It is, yeah, it's exactly that.
Yeah, there's always that striving to push a little bit further and beat another boss, but they're all quite varied, aren't they?
They are, and you have a few moves that you can use to obviously help you along the way. It's one of those where I didn't feel it ever felt unfair when you lost. It could be annoying but not unfair, and there was always that desire to try again, and we didn't get massively far into it, like far enough. We saw a good few of the bosses, but it was one of those where you could easily just burn away at it because it was that good, have a break from it and come back and just lose yourself in it again.
Yeah, the controls are super tight. So you do have, like Glenn was saying, there's a mechanic where it flashes red, doesn't it?
Yes.
And you can fire something back?
Yeah, it's a parry system,
yes.
Wasn't it? Yeah, that's right.
And it is all tied together with a reasonably interesting story. It kind of reminded me of Ghost in the Shell or something. But I think people will enjoy this one and maybe a bit different from the usual that you've heard of.
Yeah, if you've finished something like Cuphead, not that this is similar to Cuphead in terms of its general gameplay, but in terms of that boss rush mode, and you want something new, this is a good pickup for sure.
Ghost in the Shell, that is an underrated film, I think. Even like the American adaptation.
I've never seen it. Yeah, I know of it, don't get me wrong, but I've never seen it.
Oh, we'll watch that on. Hang on, it's Friday today.
Yeah.
You'll enjoy that. Next up, we've got Gundam Breaker 4. Now, there are some hardcore mecha fans out there.
Yeah.
They're called Gunpla, aren't they, in Gundam?
Right.
And I'm probably going to get attacked here. But my perception of it is that the game, great. The building, like the building, the creating,
right.
That's where it lies.
Oh, okay, yeah, fair enough, yeah.
So in this, I think that's the key focus for a lot of people is how much customization of your Gunpla have you got. And it's ludicrous. Like you can do everything. You can even do like the weathering of the metal and stuff like that.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, so you spend a huge chunk of your time just customizing, making it look exactly the way you want. And then the combat is relatively straightforward.
Yeah.
Like you're going into a stage, fighting a bunch of things, and then there's usually a massive boss fight that is way over the top, but very enjoyable.
Can you create like liveries and decals and stuff to put on your...
Yeah, from what I recall, it's one of those where I haven't played it in about 6 months.
Right, fair enough.
Whenever it came out.
Yeah.
But yes, from what I remember, you could do, very, very much that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think you unlocked different decals and liveries, and then you could choose the specific colors of each part. I don't know if you could actually draw your own.
Your own, yeah. Okay, fair enough.
I can't remember that part. Maybe someone can let us know in the comments. But then it has this system where a lot of it's online. So a bit like Monster Hunter, actually.
Yep.
You can join a lobby and then you'll see the other players kind of milling about.
Right.
And they can also put their Gunpla up on, there's like this big projection. So you can see their ones and stuff.
Oh, okay.
And then you head out on missions together. It's decent. Yeah, very addictive.
Lovely job. Yeah, good stuff. Next one then, I haven't played this one, so this is going to be you telling us about it, but this is Eastward Octopia. So this is DLC for the Eastward game that came out a couple of years ago, isn't it?
Yeah, this is DLC. Don't worry, we're not following the Game Awards. Have you heard about that? So the Game Awards, basically, they've decided that you can win Game of the Year with a DLC.
With DLC.
And the reason they've done it is because Elden Ring had its DLC.
Right.
And they're all sat there going, oh, how can we make this the winner? I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Just start a new category. Best DLC of the year.
Goodness me, it's like someone's had a logical thought.
It's crazy. All these people getting paid mega bucks.
Yeah.
And not one of them had that thought. Crazy.
It is, yeah, the DLC of the year. Well, there you go.
Rolls off the tongue.
It really does. Problem solved. What are we talking about? Oh yeah, Eastward Octopia. This is basically Stardew Valley. I say that a lot. This is basically. I realise that now that I've said it, and I'm going to try not to say it ever again in this video.
So this is essentially...
Ooh. At its core, in layman's terms.
To make a finer point, when all said and done...
Exactly. So this is basically Stardew Valley for Eastward.
Yep.
If you played Eastward, it was that kind of like action... what do you call that? I don't like calling it an RPG because it's not an RPG. It's like an action adventure.
Action adventure then, yeah.
Yeah, like top down. But this took things in a different direction where it's like, almost feels like that kind of post-credits scene, but it's a game, you know?
Yeah. Okay.
You're in a new town, you set up your own little house, you got your own farmstead, then they created a whole storyline around it. It was just so much bigger than I thought it was going to be. I was like, what the heck, man? They've obviously got some talent because it's a different genre. It still feels like Eastward and it really does work. Yeah, very, very solid. I do recommend this actually as a DLC if people haven't picked it up. It shouldn't win Game of the Year, but...
Might win DLC of the year.
It might well
in
do.
the newly created category.
Exactly.
Okay, the next game is Shogun Showdown. And this was another one where I'd seen a few comments of, oh, you must try this game. This is cracking. And I went away with the wife and kids, whenever it was now, and brought this with me. Well, go on then, I'll give it a go. And yeah, it was very, very good.
Yeah.
Very addictive. So the idea again, so it's obviously it's a roguelite where you go on these runs, but the way that you tackle the combat is that it's turn-based, but not perhaps in the way that you would expect.
Okay.
You know, so you're on a grid, or you're on not a grid, sorry, that gives the wrong impression, but like a side-on view, but you're taking steps and then enemies take steps after you. And you have a number of different attacks all related to cards that then have a cooldown system. And you basically have to take all the enemies out to move on. And obviously they'll have their attacks at the same time, but the attacks are very varied. So it could be that you have to be within a certain range, or you have to be up close, or it could be that you have a special move where you can almost like teleport through an enemy after attacking. And by doing that, you know that you can attack, teleport through, and then attack again the enemy behind them, and you start to really have these strategies that form based on the cards that you pick up.
Well, that's cool. So how does I hope this isn't a really stupid question, how does the whole samurai thing play into the gameplay? Like?
So there are a number of different characters that you can unlock, samurai, shogun, etc., and they all have a different kind of starting power or move, and then there are shops along the way, again, as you would expect, where you can pick up new moves, more health, etc., etc. There are bosses you have to fight, and when you die, you go back to the start, but you have currency you can exchange for permanent upgrades, everything
Nice.
you would expect in a good solid roguelite, but it's incredibly addictive.
Yeah. Did you play this one in handheld mode, sat underneath a blossom tree, and then just as your battery died, say perfect? Doesn't get it.
I don't get it.
In the comments, if you get that reference, let us know what it is. It's The Last Samurai, by the way.
I've seen The Last Samurai.
Yeah, it's the very last scene.
Is it?
So as he's dying, he looks over at the blossom tree.
Right.
Because his whole life he's searching for the perfect blossom.
Oh, I do remember.
Yeah.
I watched The Last Samurai with you.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think we saw the end though recently. I think we didn't get to the very end.
No, it was just ages ago we watched it.
It was
ages ago, and I just
Yeah.
didn't remember that scene.
Perfect. Battery dies.
Fade to black. Next game. Perfect. Yeah.
Okay, following on from that perfect game, we've got Splintered Fate.
Yeah, TMNT Splintered Fate, another roguelite as it happens. I loved this game. Obviously it's Turtles, so there's going to be that. I say there's going to be that bias. I'm actually quite harsh on Turtles games.
Yeah, well, you're going to be, aren't you?
'Cause they
Because
need
you
to be-
care about the franchise.
Yeah, they need to be perfect. I need to sit under that blossom tree and feel the perfection radiate from them.
Shell on your back.
But this is very good. I mean, strangely, I've heard a lot of, or seen a lot of comments on various videos, my review, other videos, of people that have had a lot of issues with this game. And whilst I had a couple, which I mentioned in the review, nothing to the extent that some people are experiencing. So if that's the case, I mean, fair enough. But you can only speak about what you've seen, and I didn't have any of the problems some people are having.
No, and I think we experienced our problems pre-patch. Do you remember we got a patch and it fixed? We had some issue. I forget what it was.
There was a strange multiplayer glitch where player 2 was getting all the good stuff, which was fine in terms of you're working together, but it meant that it wasn't very not competitive, but you didn't feel a team anymore.
Yes, it was giving me all of the things, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it was just a bit weird. And I did have a crash, I remember, but other than that, like, the game was absolutely brilliant. But yeah, I don't know. Some people have said they've had some serious issues with it, so just bear it in mind, you know. But in terms of what I've seen, so you go on runs again. Obviously, you choose one of the 4 turtles. You can play in multiplayer. You'll pick up skills as you go along, and again, you have kind of passive skills. You can add like elements to your weapon, so you'll do like poison damage or burn damage, that sort of thing, you know. And you go through a number of stages. There are only 4 stages, which was my biggest kind of bugbear with the game. Didn't feel long enough. The longevity is in replaying it, and the story references this. You know, when you beat Shredder the first time, there's a kind of like a time shift, and you go back and you have to do it again. So it's part of the design, but it would have been nice to see a bit more variety. But I just found the gameplay itself amazingly good fun, you know?
Yeah, I think a lot of people, because it is so similar to Hades, and developer even, I think, acknowledged the influence of Hades.
Yeah.
And it was out on Apple Arcade earlier. I think some people kind of discount it just because of that, which they shouldn't do.
No, I mean, it's still a very good game from what, you know, my experiences with it. And I had a great time with it. And it does, you know, there's a final end as far as I'm concerned in terms of how many runs you go on before the story kind of says that's all the runs. It doesn't quite feel enough. Like, the story doesn't feel finished.
Yeah.
And I wonder if they've left that because they're doing something in the future. I don't know. But during those runs, you know, I was playing a run, finishing it, and doing another one straight away, and another. And I never do that in games. I put so many hours into this game, like consecutive hours, probably more than any game this year. And yeah, the fact it is a Turtles game, and it was a good Turtles game. Immediately, I was like, I'm into this now because it's the Turtles and it is good. But I couldn't put this game down. Like, literally couldn't put it down.
That's like me with pizza.
Yeah, it's very similar. You know, I was honing my ninjutsu skills. You were stuffing your face. But
well, there's a reference there, isn't there? Pizza, turtles, maybe in fat. Oh, I can't say that. I'm not. Oh no, stop speaking. I'm leaving it in. Next. All right, next up we've got Elsie. I don't know if you remember this one. This was a sponsored video, actually.
Yeah, I remember it. Yeah, I do.
And I started playing it and was like, man, this is really, really good. I think it was one of those where we just didn't know enough about it, and kind of, it happens so often, right? Like, a good game comes out and no one ever hears anything about it.
Yeah.
And then we get approached to do a video exactly like Wildermyth.
Yeah.
In fact, Wildermyth should have been in this list, really.
It certainly could have been. Yeah,
it really
for sure.
could have been.
Yeah.
Didn't even think about it. But yeah, it like that. And then you play it and you're like, wow, this is way better than I thought. So this has a hub area. It is a roguelite. You've got different shops that gradually open up as you go out on your runs. But it's very much like Mega Man when you're actually out doing those. I don't like even calling them runs because I don't find that. It's stages.
Yeah.
It's stages. I guess they are runs because, you know, you do multiple and like that. And there's a bit of a random generation there. But it's really nice. If you like your action platformers, you like your classics. Some good boss fights in there as well. I just was impressed by it. I thought it was a very fun game.
Yeah, I do remember this one. I think you played more of it than me, but I think games are getting better at hiding the fact you are going on runs.
Yeah, I think you're right.
They are starting to feel a bit more organic. In some games, and I think this is one where that is certainly the case. But yeah, you're spot on when you say Mega Man. That was what came to my mind when I was playing it. Yeah, good shooting mechanics, nice tight controls as you're making your way through the levels. You went back to like a hub area where the better you got or the further you went, more shops came to town. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. That's right. You're just building up that little. It's something Bay. I want to say Arcadia Bay, but it's definitely not, is it? Because that's in something else.
That is definitely in something else. I can't think what.
Nor can I.
It's in something else. Yeah,
I like that name, Arcadia Bay. There you go. So yeah, I think the people were getting a bit burnt out with roguelites at one point, but there was definitely, maybe like in the middle of the Switch's life, everything was a roguelite.
Yeah.
At least it felt that way.
Yeah.
And then we played a few RPGs and stuff, and I think we were like keen to get back to a roguelite. I know I certainly was. Because you know what you're getting. You can pick it up. You can do small chunks usually, make a bit of meta progression. And this is a good example of that.
Yeah, I think so. I think I don't know if this happens under the hood, but I think sometimes these roguelites just need to just throw you a bone. If you have a few bad runs, just chuck you a good one.
Yeah.
Just as you're starting to think, oh, sod this for a laugh. Just throw you a good one. Let you feel invincible. Stamp on your face. You die. But you feel like, actually, yeah, all right.
Yeah.
I can do this.
You've done it.
And then, obviously, you get 10 bad runs in a row again.
You start to weep.
Exactly.
Metal Slug Tactics, Glenn.
Yeah, Metal Slug Tactics. What a premise.
What a premise.
What an idea.
I find it
What a world.
What a world we live in, because we have both Mario and Metal Slug being created by not Nintendo and not SNK.
And both tactics games.
And both tactics games too.
Very
And,
strange.
you know, that's a strange world we live in.
It is, yeah.
But this one was surprisingly good, like really good.
Yeah.
And they've patched it.
Yes, I remember you saying, yeah.
Yeah, so it did have a couple of, well, it still does have a couple of performance issues, but who cares about all that? It's about the addictive gameplay. So again, with all of these, you do tend to have that hub, don't you?
Yes, yeah. That's generally how they work, isn't
It's
it?
like a garage or garage. How would you say it, Glenn?
Garage, mate.
Good. But you're going to turn around and go, Walker, it's a garage. No, Glenn, old boy, it's a garage.
You say that in North London, you get exiled.
Do you?
Yeah.
So you're going to say executed then? I'm so flipping heck.
It's not that.
Excommunicated.
Yeah. You know, in the what's the Dark Knight film where they have to go and walk on the ice when Bane's in charge? It's like that. You say garage, they're like, right, out onto the ice. Go on.
Just head by the door. Ouch. Yeah, all right. So what are we talking about? Oh yeah, Metal Slug Tactics.
Oh yeah.
So you've got your garage, and every time you unlock a new character, they come and like one will be playing on the arcade machine.
Right.
Like it's quality, and you choose your characters in there, and then head out on your runs in your little vehicle. What is going on with my language, Glenn?
I don't know. Watching too many American films, mate. You need to watch Only Fools and Horses. Remember your roots.
The doctor has prescribed what? What's that say? Only fools and... All right.
Twice a day.
Twice a... Comes out. All right, mate.
You flunker.
So, yeah, you start out in the garage, you head out on your runs. What I did like is that when you unlock new areas, you can kind of go back to those apart from the end, like the big city.
Right.
If you lose there, like you've got to kind of make your way back to it. And you can choose your order as well. When you're into like an overview map, you get to choose, which nodes you go to. There's vehicles in here as well, which is very cool. Like the way they've included all the Metal Slug stuff,
Yeah.
Light vehicles as you'd expect.
The Metal Slugs.
The Metal Slugs.
The actual Metal Slugs, yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
Solid. Chrome.
It's amazing Metal Slug's got Metal Slugs in it.
All right, you just became that guy in the comments. Yeah, Mark, I think what you're talking about are the Metal Slugs. Have you seen the title of the game? And I'm just replying to him going, yeah, it's been a long day, mate. I've just seen a perfect blossom.
And headbutted the door. So.
Exactly. So yeah, you got your vehicles, which isn't a surprise, but it's surprising how they put it in so fluidly without varying the gameplay massively.
Yeah.
Before I pulled that one off, didn't I? Nicely done,
Very
Walker.
smooth.
Pat's
Very smooth.
self on back. He saved me there, hasn't he? From loads of comments. They're having a laugh at me.
At us.
Yeah.
At work. So
I wonder if anyone gets all these references.
probably not. I didn't get one of them earlier, so
No, he didn't.
they got no chance.
No, not at all. Really good game. Go check out the review.
Then we've got Drova.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the one that was like a classic dungeon crawler almost? Am I thinking of the right game?
Not at all.
Let's start again then.
No, it's
What's
like
going
a classic action. So it's like a CRPG from back in the day. It's top down, pixelated.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
What's
It's
that
like
mean?
Morrowind a bit. You're thinking of Diablo, are you?
Diablo. That's what I was trying to say.
So it's a
Sorry,
Diablo
yeah.
perspective Morrowind.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, like a hybrid of Diablo and Skyrim if they were to squeeze together until they became one being.
So they took like the classic formula of Diablo,
Mhm.
then took its successor
Yeah.
spiritually,
Yeah.
put it in a blender,
Oh yeah,
stuck that lid on,
full power.
press go,
What have you got?
put a plastic umbrella in it, robs your father's brother.
And you've got Drova.
Exactly. That's what I said.
Did I review it or was it sponsored video?
You reviewed it.
I reviewed it. Absolutely cracking game.
Hmm.
Like really, really good. But as is so often the case, performance was terrible in certain areas. But then they patched it just before the review was
I
due
was
to
going
go
to say,
out.
yeah, to be fair, it was a pre-launch patch.
Yes.
So in terms of anyone else buying it,
You know, they never knew.
they never knew.
The horror that I experienced.
Yeah. So thankfully, it wasn't a case of it releasing
No.
in a state and then, it was a pre-launch patch. But yes, once that went out, or
Mhm.
once that went live, it was a whole lot better, right?
Oh, it really was. Yeah, it did a lot of things that I don't know why we don't see more of, which is like scripting, like character choice scripting that has effects that are instant. So I said, didn't I, about stealing the guy's stuff?
Yeah, yeah.
So like one of the quests at the start, the guy was like, "Oh, like I'm going to give you my best armor."
Right.
And I was like, "Great, sweet." And I was like looking over his shoulder, like, "Oh, look, there's his chest." Then as soon as he walked off, I picked his chest, put his armor on, went back to him. He was like, "What the hell are you doing? Get the armor off, or I'll kill you." Killed me.
Oh, he warned you.
He did.
He told you.
Yeah.
You don't walk in someone's house, put their gear on, walk up, giving it large.
But so how many games would you do that though? They'd be like, "Okay, so head to the cave and kill the monster, and I'll give you that armor." And he's staring right at you.
Yeah.
And you're like, "What?"
I always found it funny when you went in someone's house, just picked up all their pots and threw them about and smashed the place up. Then spoke to them. They're like, "What's a beautiful day?" Okay.
Yeah, exactly. That whole like NPC dialogue that you often get, you don't get it in DROVA a lot of the time, and that made it stand out.
Do you know what I liked, right, about, well, you know, exactly that premise, but years ago when you wouldn't have expected to see it, was Link's Awakening on the Game Boy, where you could steal stuff from the shop.
Oh wow.
But you had to like run around in circles with the stuff in your hand.
Yeah.
And you could run around in circles, then you could leave the shop with it. If you went back to the shop, he immediately killed you, and he called you thief for the rest of the game.
No.
Yep. What a great little, Easter egg all those years ago.
That.
Yeah.
I like that. What game was that again?
That was Link's Awakening.
What shop is that?
You
Not
just
for
want to
me.
do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I really do.
You could steal like was it the bow, like the most expensive item in the game, so you could get it early without having to go and find all those rupees. You know.
Where's Mark gone?
He's got a bow in his hand, riding away from the shop.
All right, that takes us on to the hidden gem then, and it is a game called Kill Knight. Do you remember this one?
Yes, I do. So this was your kind of arena shooter, battler, I guess, where you had to take out a horde of enemies, didn't you?
Yeah,
And move on.
Exactly. It did a very cool thing where, like, when you do a melee attack, it charges up your special attacks.
That's right.
With secondary.
Yes, I do remember. And did you? Does that something to do with your health? Like using your special gave you health, or they dropped health? Or
Exactly.
It was a nice risk reward, wasn't it?
Yeah. They'll drop health when you hit them with that special move, and there's just that flow, isn't there?
Yeah.
It's interesting because the world kind of builds and like shifts and moves. It has this like modular look to it.
It does. That's right. Yes, you're right. So the floor would give way, or like it would form in front of you, almost terraforming as you're playing. And it was really smooth. And in terms, not necessarily performance, I'm not saying that was bad either, but just in terms of the way all this came together as you were playing, it felt good, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty good performance-wise by the end as well. Like, I think it's like 60. It's just a nice, smooth experience. Like you said, the combat's very smooth. What's cool about it is how you unlock different weapons, and then you can slot those into your character, and it very much changes the run. Because if you're going from a shotgun to a machine gun as your special, it makes a big difference. And I say special, you get your primary and secondary kind of attacks, and then you've got your special.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
Yes, it does, yeah.
And you also charge up your secondary by doing that damage as well. So it just has this really good circular flow.
Yeah, everything's linked.
It is indeed.
Isn't it? So everything you do has an initial reaction, i.e. you're shooting an enemy in the gut, but then it also does something else that could serve you longer term.
Yeah, and that's the best way for these types of games for me, and you don't have to worry too much about, you don't really have to think. You just boot it up and play.
Yeah, but no, you don't have to think, but you are thinking.
Constantly.
Aren't you? Like, it's there in the back of your mind. You're just doing all the calculations and thinking, if I do this, but you're in the zone.
Exactly. I'm thinking, how many loops of that shop do I need to do with that bow before I can run off?
You get called thief for the rest of the game.
Wow. Worst things happen at sea, I think.
They probably do. I mean, all sorts out there.
Whales.
Yep, whales.
I've seen a whale before.
Have you?
Like right in front of me on a boat, like not in the ocean. That's why I need to clarify. I was on a ferry, and there shouldn't have been a whale there.
Oh, yeah, that
in
would
Australia.
Freak me out.
Really?
Yeah, that would freak me out. Having heard stories of, I've seen Jaws for a start. I mean, that didn't help. Read Moby Dick.
Yeah.
What's the other one? There was a story that inspired Moby Dick, like a real life story.
Yeah.
I forget the name of the ship. Where this, honestly, I don't know if we've got time to talk about it now, but I'm going to talk about it
all the time
in the world.
Literally.
So I forget. I wish I could remember, but basically, this ship went out, obviously whale hunting. This big, the biggest of all the whales in the whole universe, rammed their ship.
The megalodon
of whales. Yeah. The megalodon's a shark. But
just checking you knew. At last.
Smashed into their ship, right, damaged it beyond repair. They had to escape in lifeboats. They didn't have as many lifeboats as they initially had because one had got damaged, whatever. They ended up on an island, right, and realised they had to leave the island because it had no resources on it. So went out again in the lifeboats looking for, new lands, and basically resorted to cannibalism by the end in the lifeboat as they just drifted away aimlessly. It's horrific, like real life story, and it inspired the tale of Moby Dick.
Man.
So yeah, I don't want to go on a boat in case I end up eating someone.
Well, I will say the whale was huge, like terrifyingly huge. The ferries, because I used to get the Manly ferry across. What a great place to live in. Lived in a place called Manly, just a bit. And I used to get the ferry across to Sydney Harbour. Yeah. Sights and sounds.
Yeah.
Hard life. And this huge whale, like it's almost probably about half the size of the boat, but the boat was massive.
Right. Half the size of the boat?
Yeah.
You're having a laugh?
No, it's
thanks.
huge.
No, thanks.
And it shouldn't have been there because it's quite shallow in that area. So it was quite unusual. It was very, very cool.
Nah, keep me on terra firma, mate. I'm not interested. I don't want to know. Half the size of the boat you're on.
Yeah.
It's like a dinosaur just suddenly appearing.
Well, yeah, they're amazing.
Yeah, no.
Prehistoric beauties.
Don't fancy that. Sorry.
No problem.
Lovely stuff. Yeah, so that's our most addictive games, a mixture of new and old in there. As Mark said, a big thank you to Untold Tales who have sponsored the whole of this series, and it's a game changer, isn't it?
It's huge.
In terms of us being able to do it, please do check out their games, and the description down below will have all the details for them. As I said, we are going to disappear for a couple of days now in terms of being on screen, just to try and look our best selves, because we look horrendous at the minute. Well, I look horrendous. I look like the, what's he called? The ghost of future yet to come. The ghost of Christmas yet to come. Big scythe in the air. But yeah, no, we'll be back soon on screen for these intros and whatnot. But I hope you enjoyed this one anyway. And thank you to our patrons and our channel members for your continued support. Please tune in tomorrow where we'll have another episode. Take care, and until next time, happy gaming.